Hi, my name's Sean O'Connor, and you're watching Incredible Discourse. What we're going to get in today is an introduction to archaeology. But first, we're going to roll the credits.
Sean O'Connor's Introduction to Archaeology. Incredible Discourse.
Have you ever wondered what life in the past was like? What people ate? Where they went? What they did with their time? Well, archaeology tries to answer these questions. If you're expecting some tomb robbing or treasure hunting, you're in the wrong place because those are crimes and you're a criminal. But what archaeology does have is complex, nuanced, and impactful questions that we try to answer about the past. So what we're trying to do is learn about the past, not steal the past for profit, which is what treasure hunting and tomb robbing or tomb raiding is all about. So if you like to do something productive concerning learning about the past, then archaeology is where you want to be. If you want to be a filthy criminal and steal a bunch of stuff, that's not what we do here. So just giving you a heads up on that. Usually when people think of archaeology, they're talking about classical archaeology. So that's going to be dealing with the archaeology and the cultures from the Mediterranean. So when we look at the Mediterranean, we can see Greece, Rome, the Middle East. So these are the kind of places that we're dealing with. And North Africa is a big one, and even parts of Spain would be considered Mediterranean or classical archaeology. Classical archaeology does tend to have the more famous and well-known archaeological sites, such as the Great Pyramids in Giza. They have Pompeii. Another one is Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe. This one. Which is a lesser known site in the Middle East that has some of the earliest known domestication of animals, as well as the first large stone structures by non-sedentary people. So these people were hunter-gatherers, and they built these large objects. Outside of classical archaeology, you have archaeology of other regions. Just because classical archaeology tends to be the oldest, the most established, and the one that people tend to gravitate towards because it has the most famous sites, it has a lot of history behind it. There's a lot of important archaeology that's done outside of the classical area. So in general, for classical archaeology, will we cover it here? Yeah, we're going to talk about classical archaeology. A big part of that is because it's difficult to talk about the history of archaeology without discussing the classics. But I'm not going to put a overemphasis on them. They're going to get the time that they deserve, right? I'm not going to ignore them on purpose, but I'm not going to fetishize them like is often done. But wait, there's more. Archaeologists have even begun to work on certain sites that have to do with World War I and World War II. So an example would be prison camps. They'll do excavations on old ex-prison camps that existed during that time, and shipwrecks, which is another big subsection of archaeology, which would be underwater archaeology or maritime archaeology. But those are things that we'll get to later. So now that we have an understanding about what archaeology is, let's get down into the nitty-gritty. What is archaeology exactly? As someone coming from the US and from the American school of thought, I would identify archaeology as a type of anthropology, which if you were in the UK or Ireland would be questioned. So in general, regionally, there are differences in how archaeology is understood as a subject, but we'll get into that in a later date. So for now, I'm going to define archaeology as a sub-discipline within anthropology. So anthropology is the holistic study of humankind. There are 4 different subsections of it. We have cultural anthropology, which studies all aspects of living cultures today. We have archaeology, which studies all aspects of past cultures, cultures that no longer exist today, or the material culture or physical remains of cultures that have or do currently exist. I know that's a lot. So, cultural anthropology, cultures today; archaeology, cultures of the past. They could still exist, but we're studying the artifacts and the physical remains from the past to inform us about either cultures then or cultures now. The next one is linguistic anthropology, which specializes in understanding how languages work, but more importantly, how we can learn about cultures through the way languages are constructed and are used. And the last one is physical anthropology, which is a type of biological study of the human being and closely related species as well. So, those are the 4 types of anthropology, with archaeology being one. And as an American, I will identify archaeology as a type of anthropology. So just to quickly go over, if you were in the UK or in Ireland and the discussion of archaeology came up, it would not be considered a type of anthropology, but instead it would be more closely related to material sciences and history. So in the UK and Ireland and other parts of Europe, it's more closely considered to history because they're dealing with the past cultures of their own people of the area. Whereas in America, archaeology is usually concerned with Native Americans or regions outside of the US. So it's very rarely that American archaeologists deal with their own past cultures. So here is one of the big differences between American archaeology and European, or the archaeology taking place in the UK and Ireland. To kick off our exploration of archaeology, we're first going to go through the history of archaeological thought. We're going to cover the largest and most influential trends that have existed throughout the history of archaeology, and then after that, we're going to get into some of the more detailed aspects of it. We're going to look at certain types of, we're going to look at methodologies, certain types of materials, and if there's anything in particular that you want to know about archaeology that you'd like to see a video about, please let me know. My cat is very vocal, so you'll hear him coming up from time to time, asking questions and putting his 2 pieces in. Okay, you can come up. So this is Jamie. You're going to see him around every once in a while. Let me know if there's anything in particular that you'd like to see in the future episode. But for now, we're going to go through the history of archaeological thought, and then after that, different methodologies and different special topics within archaeology that are of significant importance. All right, so that does it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Next time, we're going to kick off the whole exploration of the history of archaeology with a in-depth exploration of the antiquarians. Who were they? What were they all about? We're going to learn about them and hopefully have a little bit of fun too. Right, Jamie? Jamie's pumped for it. He's pretty excited about it.